Next, we have the Niph'al. This is at the top of page 86. The Niph'al. You'll recall that the Niph'al stem is the passive stem. The voice is the voice is passive and the action is simple. Simple, passive. And the way that the Niph'al is created in the perfect form is the addition of the nun on the beginning, right? The nun would go here in the beginning of the root. That's the sign for the perfect or the affix form of the Niph'al. Well, the nun is one of the weak letters in Hebrew, one of the 4 weak letters. And so it doesn't want to remain in this word between the prefix and the first root letter. So what the nun does is it gets claustrophobic, it curls up into a little ball, and it gets munched on and eaten by the first root letter. Okay, so think of the nun curling up into a little ball, a ball that you might, I don't know, perhaps call a doggish forte, if you were so inclined. The nun curls up into a little ball and gets eaten by the kof, by the first root letter. It becomes a doggish forte. So, one dominant sign of the Niph'al prefix or imperfect is that you'll have a doggish in the first root letter. The root letter immediately following the prefix, okay? That's one sign. Another sign is it'll also begin with a hirik, which is similar, of course, to the pa'al or kal, but the main difference, the huge difference, well, there's 2 of them, but one of them is this doggish forte. You will never have a doggish forte in the first root letter of Niph'al Imperfect from a nun that's the sign of the Niph'al. Okay, so here we have a hirik with a doggish in the first root letter, but another major difference between the pa'al and the Niph'al is that where the pa'al closes the initial syllable with a shava, you remember yik tol, here, because of the doggish forte and this root letter being doubled, you have another syllable that's added. So instead of closing the syllable, you have a long syllable created here with the comments. Yi, ka, and then your last syllable, I believe, is, yes, tsere. Yikatel. Yikatel is our Niph'al. And, okay, the big signs you want to pay attention to, hirik under the prefix, similar to the pa'al, comments under the first root letter, and a doggish forte in the first root letter. Okay? That's big signs that you've got the Niph'al prefix. That's what you want to look for. Okay. One thing I'll point out at this point is if the first root letter is a guttural, it will, you'll recall, reject the doggish forte. Okay? So, let's see, what would a good example of that be? Let's say the word is amar. Amar, which is the word to say. Line dividing them here. Okay, if you have the word amar, the first root letter is aleph. So if you create a Niph'al prefix, what the word wants to do is say ye a mer. Ye a mer, and the word is going to want to put a doggish forte in that aleph. But the aleph is going to say, ain't no way. You ain't coming in me. I'm not hungry. So, what's a rejected doggish forte to do other than come and bunk up with the hirik? So the hirik is lengthened It's called compensatory lengthening, which you may recall that phrase. The vowel, the hiric, lengthens to compensate for the rejection of the Dagesh forte in the aleph. And by the way, if you want another fancy grammatical term, this noon that becomes a Dagesh forte here, the sign of the Niph'al prefix, the noon gets eaten here by the kof, that is called an assimilated noon. Assimilated noon. So the noon gets assimilated into the first root letter. But here, it gets rejected. You have compensatory lengthening, and now your Niph'al prefix is a, ye, a, mer. A, instead of e, a. Right? You see the two patterns are almost identical, except the Dagesh forte isn't here, and so this is a tsere instead of a hirik.